HypnoFitness is basically hypnosis, literally clinical hypnosis that I combine with movement therapy or training or weight training or yoga or Pilates or Tai Chi or whatever I do. It's a way to access the subconscious mind, which is really the seat of all of our reactions, like our acts that we do over and over again, right? So when we react to something, it's the same act over and over again, right? And it's something that we want to change usually. So my goal when I work with my clients is not to spend a lot of time getting them to do, you know, food diaries for 3 days that they never do. And it's not that you guys don't do it, but most people don't. But to try and get in to their mind so that they could change habits, but it wouldn't be such a struggle. Because I think that's one of the problems, you know, with trying to maintain, right? It's like you can lose weight, you can gain weight, but how do we stay in that middle place, right? That middle place where we're not always thinking about that. You should just eat. And it shouldn't be a thing that you have to think about. It should become subconscious, right? Your choices. And so if you look at hypnosis is just a very simple, very awake state. The word hypnos actually means sleep in Greek, but it actually is not sleep at all. It's a very, very conscious state of mind. And you go into that place all the time, all day long, believe it or not. Because if you remember, maybe you learned a little bit from Yoga Fit about meditation, right? And going from, you know, you're exercising to like coming down and relaxing. Well, that's just as simple as being in a conscious state of mind to a relaxed state of mind, which is what hypnosis is. Hypnosis is that place you go every day from when you're awake to when you fall asleep, in the middle, right? It's that place that you go when you're watching a really awesome movie and somebody tries to talk to you or the phone rings, but you're just so involved in that movie that you don't even answer the phone. Hypnosis is that place whenever you are lost in something and your brainwave state goes to a certain place. So for example, in your fitness class, when you go from doing a really hard hit movement, right? Whatever you made them do, burpees or whatever. And then she said, okay, let's go into child's pose and take 5 breaths. For that period of time, your brain will go into a hypnotic state. And when you're in a hypnotic state, it could also be if you're surprised. So let's say the fire alarm went off. That could put you in a hypnotic state or a state of suggestibility. Same thing if you're shocked, surprised, very, very tired and very, very exhausted. That is also a time when you're highly suggestible. Now I'm starting to interchange the word suggestible with, right, a hypnotic state or that state. It's an alpha brainwave state. And we go through those states all day long. Beta is the high brainwave state, which we think is our conscious mind. It's like little tiny waves, pitter-pattering, fast, fast, fast. But that's only 10% of your mind that you're aware of. You're not there all day long. You go from beta, you go to alpha, that state. You go in and out of those two states all day long, which means that we're very suggestible, not just like when you're in meditation, but every day, all day. You're talking to somebody, you're watching TV, you see a billboard, you read a magazine, you're suggestible. So hypnosis isn't something that should be looked at like a bad thing. It's happening all the time. What my job is, is to get my clients aware of that state and when they're in it. So for example, when you're done with your yoga class and the teacher says, lie down, we're going to go into meditation. That's not meditation, that's hypnosis. When they tell you what to do and put you into a place, they're doing hypnosis on you. And that's a very important thing to remember, because you want to be able to use that to your advantage, right? A seasoned meditation teacher teaches you hypnosis, whether they know it or not, okay? So you're doing it all the time. So don't be afraid of it, right? So far, do we have any questions?
Well, when you say that the teacher tells you to lay down and you're going into Shavasana, isn't it the same thing when you're being instructed to do the movements of the exercise as well?
Absolutely, yes. And that's called waking hypnosis, which is, yes, or cognitive hypnosis. And that's pretty much what I teach. And that is a lot of how Yoga Fit, that's how we do our programs, with that idea that whenever somebody is in authority, which is the teacher, right? When we're training our teachers, we teach them that how important it is to have a certain type of language, right? So hypnosis then is really all about the language that you use in your own mind, your own verbiage, your own self-talk. So yes, absolutely. Whenever we're doing something with you, if you go home tonight or you're at home already and go to sleep tonight and you hear Kim's voice in your head, that's hypnosis. So anything, it's actually, that's what I'm saying, it happens all the time. Now, what we want to do is we want to become aware of the times when we're suggestible, right? Being suggestible, that's the key. You could be aware of this and not let it affect you subconsciously. But if you were in a state, let's say you were really, really tired, right? Really exhausted. And then I'm not going to say Kim, but some other person was teaching you some exercises and they were telling you maybe in a way that didn't resonate with you. They were yelling at you or making you feel bad about yourself in some way and you were just really tired. Some of those things that they might have said to you, you may have interpreted in a certain way and then kind of programmed you maybe not to want to go back and do that, even though it was beneficial for you. So a lot of times things that are beneficial for us, we don't do, right? And then why don't we do it, right? We know, right? If we are so conscious and we know, why don't we do it? So that's where the subconscious mind comes in. That's where habits and patterns, right? Patterns. It really is a pattern. So in order to change a pattern, we have to rewire the pattern, right? Now, we can't do it through willpower. It has to be done through consciousness. One of my favorite ways to do it is when you're in your meditation. The easiest way to do it is to put on music and to visualize yourself changing that habit, right? It seems easy enough. And had a client could not go past the bakery without getting something, always. And there was nothing I could do about it, right? It's their body, no matter what I say. So I said, okay, let's do this. So I had him lie down, do the meditation. Okay, so imagine yourself, you're walking, feel your body walking, you know, all that stuff. Now imagine yourself going past the bakery. It's that simple. Every single time you're going to sleep, whenever you're lying down, whenever you're doing this, you give yourself a cue or prompt. Every single time I sit a certain way, I'm going to think about just walking past the bakery next time. And every time you walk past the bakery, it becomes an anchor in your head. You begin to change your habit without having to say to yourself, oh, I can't go in the bakery. Maybe a little bit in the beginning. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to get all your senses involved. The feeling, how does it feel when I walk past the bakery instead of going in? Okay, go there. How do I feel? Do I feel accomplished? Do I feel whatever it is for you, right? Whatever that feeling is, then you anchor. That's what you anchor, a feeling state, right? Because the feeling is what we're going after. Do I feel better passing the baker? Or I'm going to say to my client, and I do this all the time too, go ahead and eat whatever you want. As a matter of fact, go get the croissant, the chocolate croissant. I want you to eat it. I want you to rub it all over your body. I want you to embody it, okay? And then tell me how you feel after that. So what you have to do mentally, right, to make these little changes, and I'm just using that as an example, but it's a good example because it doesn't just happen overnight, because your pattern was going into the bakery, right? It's a neural pattern. Guess what? Have you ever gotten in your car and you were like, I'm going to go do this thing, and then all of a sudden you were somewhere else? No, this never happened. Yes, it's happened to all of us. You're like, oh, I was supposed to go to ShopRite and I ended up in, somewhere else. That's your subconscious mind. Thankfully, it didn't get you into a car accident. But my point being is that it has quite a bit of power. And our meditation practice and our visualization, that is all part of hypnosis. And it's a great way that you already know. That's why I put in the blurb. You already are doing this. Now, what you do to make it effective is you create that anchor. Look at something you want to change, right? And if you're struggling, then you just have to let it go, because if you struggle, you're not going to be able to change. Why? Because you're going to keep calling the thing that you're struggling with back. Does that make sense? The subconscious mind doesn't hear the word no, but it's a neural habit, right? So when I go to the fridge unconsciously, right? And we all do that, especially right now during this COVID, because we get bored, right? And all of a sudden you're standing there, the door's open, and you're looking, and you're really not hungry, right? So right there is a moment when your subconscious mind took over, right? So what we want to start doing in order to use this powerful method of self-hypnosis is to start noticing when we've been in hypnosis, either through our own consciousness, right, or being tired or whatever, or we were watching a movie that was really great and we kind of went in and the commercial came on and then you were hungry for McDonald's, or you were reading a magazine and then you started to feel bad about yourself, because all of that is subconscious programming. And then you have confirmation, right? Or authority, right? So that's the second part from your question, right, Judith, which was, if the teacher tells me to do this, right, I'm going to do it. I'm already doing it. You're literally taking those directions without question, right? So again, there's a lot of details to it, but the simple thing that we can start doing is to notice when we feel shocked, surprised, thrown off balance. That's one way that they can really get in. Anybody, like if you're trying to you're trying to hold your energy, surprise, shock, anything like that that's a very powerful motivator. That's why, when they try to torture people to get information out of them and they don't get the right information, it's just because they tortured them, they beat them, they got them so tired, right? That they just say anything. So part of programming is authority. If somebody's, on you all the time about something, how you resonate with them will make the difference of whether your habit will change or not, right? So when you're picking a trainer, for example, picking somebody who resonates with you, that tells you things and words, or gives you words that make you feel good about yourself, because that's gonna have a lasting effect, and you'll be hypnotizing yourself with their positive words. Because you have to remember, there's the hypnosis has a terrible reputation. Okay, I mean, think about this: stage hypnosis. But here's what's cool about stage hypnosis, and this is how it can work for you. Stage hypnosis is basically the hypnotherapist doesn't have any power over you, but in that situation, the person who's in the audience knows that if they raise their hand and they go up and they bark like a dog, the audience that's watching will not blame them for that. They will throw the blame on the therapist, or not the therapist, the stage hypnotist, because it's not really the same thing. But the idea that somebody can bark like a dog because you told them to isn't true. It's just that when that person raises their hand to go up, right? They're already saying yes. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So if they do it, they don't have to feel embarrassed because the stage hypnotist can take that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes on with all kinds of things in life if you really look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Visualization. So that's how we change our habits and patterns, by thinking, seeing, feeling ourselves in the situation that we want. And most of us do this all the time, right? You go to bed, you think, okay, what do I have to do tomorrow? That's visualization. That's hypnotizing yourself, self-hypnosis, right? And if you go tomorrow and you do everything the way that you visualized it happening, right? A lot of that's how you program yourself. Another way to program yourself, and this is one of my other favorite, I have so many favorites, but this will be the second one, is to get your phone and to just tape yourself, giving yourself your own relaxation and then a message. So for example, we're breathing in, we're breathing out, or I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. You could give yourself a auto suggestion, right, on tape, and maybe make it like 10 minutes or 20 minutes if you want. And just say, the same thing that Kim does, we're gonna relax, we're gonna close our eyes, and so on. But you say it to yourself, and then imagine Claudia, I'll do this for myself. Imagine, Claudia, you're walking down the street and you're feeling light on your feet and you feel healthy and you are walking past the bakery, you know what I mean? And you give yourself your own meditation, your own visualization, your own, whatever it is for you, right? And then that's where you have to go back and look at, when am I doing all these unconscious things or my unconscious habits? And believe me, we all have them. But once you start to notice it, you can tweak, and then you don't have to really worry so much about your weight so much, or because a lot of that starts to balance out because you begin to trust, right? You begin to trust yourself. And when you can trust yourself, your subconscious mind, right? It's not at odds with you. When you're not feeling at odds with yourself all the time, that trust allows you to move towards the positive things in your life with ease. It becomes less of a struggle, is what I'm trying to say. And if you didn't want to listen to your own voice, you could always, right, get some tapes, or they don't use tapes anymore, but you could download something from the internet that is hypnotic, or just the meditation that you like. Because again, like I said, meditation is hypnosis, but to change a habit, it helps to have your own voice on that tape. It really does. And to if you can change the wording just a little bit, so that, let's say we're going to go with yours, I'm not grinding my teeth, could be something like, my jaw is very relaxed when I sleep. Stress melts off my body. Although usually we try to avoid saying things like the thing that we're trying to get rid of. We are in a state where every day is shocking, right? So not only are we stressed, but any old stuff that could come up is going to come up. It's going to get triggered in this situation. And besides the hypnosis and the meditation, all the things we're doing is to just start to be aware of those times, because now you know that every day when something happens, you feel this like anxiety. What is that? To start to name it, right? And to make friends with it, and to start using hypnosis in that way too. So when you have that thing, like, let's say anxiety, because it's not like not eating a croissant, it's a different thing to change. It's easy you could not go buy ice cream. You don't have it in your fridge. That's the easiest way not to eat it, right? So that one's an easy one, but a more challenging one is depression, stress-related issues. And you can really use this to clear those things. But to first, you got to be aware of it and make friends with it. When you're friends with your anxiety, it's like, okay, you today, really? You know what I mean? And you start to have a dialogue with your anxiety instead of this monologue. Either you know, at odds with your anxiety, or your anxiety, you know, at you. There has to be a dialogue, and there has to be some voices, and they have to have a voice. Sounds a little crazy, doesn't it? But it works. Let's use stress. How could we use hypnosis for stress, right? Or anxiety, because that's really what a lot of people are feeling. First of all, we have to notice what anxiety is and what are the symptoms, right? Sweaty palms, increased heart rate, right? Fear of not knowing what the hell's going on. Generalized anxiety, and if you've never had it, be glad. It's stuff coming at you from every direction, and you can't figure out, you don't have enough hands to deal with it. So then what happens is you go into kind of an overwhelm, and that's the reason why I bring this up, is because that's the right before you go into depression or towards clinical depression, right? We have these heightened states of anxiety, and we want to make sure that we use our tools in this toolbox to pull us out, right? And that one tool is the breath, right? The breath, the visualization, and the meditation, which is hypnosis, ultimately. And make friends with that, whatever it is. If it's anxiety, you name it. So mine is called COVID 22, and I'll give you the reason why. My anxiety has a name because, you know, it's been rough, even in Hawaii. And I was like, okay, COVID-19, COVID 20, nothing's going to happen in 20, 21 is not going to be good. 22, COVID 22 is when I feel like things are going to really be better. And I'm going to think about that, because I know from my work in brain studies and hypnosis that the human brain needs two things. It needs an end point for things, and it also needs continuity. It needs two things. It needs endpoints, and it also needs continuity, right? And they seem like opposites, but when we don't have either of those things and we don't feel grounded there, that's when these other little things sneak up on us. And then we use our tools, right? Our yoga, our exercise. Exercise is key. It really is. Even before meditation. And the reason why is because you're in a more heightened state of suggestibility to relax and let go after a really hard workout, like what I just watched you guys do with Kim. So you do that HIIT workout, Kim, and you get them really tired. And then once everybody's relaxed, take 5 minutes and just do your normal 5 minutes, but then add the habit. How do you feel now that you've done 8 weeks of Yoga Fit? How does it feel now? Or what else can we do in the future? So you could go, present, or how was it before we started? How, past, present, future, or just future, but that'll be up to her. So that could be fun. And then just do it at the end of the HIIT class, and you'll be very surprised at the results that you'll get with your clients, especially after a really hard workout. Why? Because you're tired, you're exhausted. So best time to do that when you're doing it consciously is at the end, not necessarily at the beginning. Why? Because the 10% mind is like, I've got an itch. This is going on. Why is she saying that? I don't like this. My knee hurts. And and on and on and on, as the monkey mind does, right? So that's why you also, need to really do that towards the end to make those changes that stick. And so then you put it into an anchor. Every time I finish my workout, I lie down and I relax and I reprogram my body. Something like that. Anchors are really good. Anchors are things that you do, right? Things that you say, right? So you use anchors as a way to solidify habits. So every time that I'm standing at the sink, or every time I get into my car, whatever habit. So it's every time I get into my car and I want to have a relaxed driving experience. Every time I get into my car, I take 3 deep breaths. I roll my shoulders and wiggle my fingers and drive. You know what I mean? And you give yourself these little prompts to remind yourself. But every time blah, blah, blah is also a good one because, you start to get into the habit of, okay, every time I do this thing that I'm trying to change. Every time I go to a restaurant, I order da 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 da, the thing that I want to order, not necessarily the other thing that you wanted to order, the thing that you think you should order. And then when it comes to these diets and books and not books, but like 3-day diaries and things like that, I do something. If they don't do that at all, and some people don't, like I said, I give them what I call the anti-diet, which is for 3 days. You can write this down. For 3 days, write down everything you wished you ate, okay? Eat whatever you want. You can write it down. You don't have to write it down. I don't care. But for 3 whole days, I want you to write down what you think you should have ate or what you wished you ate for every meal. And then give me that as the homework assignment. And then I'll use that homework assignment to figure out how to navigate the diet thing. Because the food, you could be an alcoholic, you could be a drug addict, you could be a sex addict, you could stop having sex, you can't stop eating, right? So this is a thing with food. It's a thing. It's a relationship, right? And to be at odds with it all the time, for a lot of people, is just the whole lifelong battle. And why do we want to spend our life battling, right? Being at odds. We need to possess that, right? And own it. And it's ugly sometimes, and it's okay. But that's what you do in your own hypnosis, right? That's why I always say it's all self-hypnosis, because Kimberly can take you down there and get you to that nice, relaxed place. But when you're in there, you're like a seamstress. You're like, oop, I gotta tidy up down here. I gotta get the seams right. Or whatever, however you want to visualize it, but using your imagination and remembering that your subconscious mind is your 2-year-old mind. So you have to talk to yourself that way. You can't think yourself out of it sometimes. Thinking, yeah. And then all of our Yoga Fit, we say breathing, feeling, listening to the body, letting go of judgment, letting go of expectations. That's a form of hypnosis. Now you know that, right? Anything memorized like that, especially when it's a positive thing like that, then anchor that to breathing, and then give yourself a time. Every time at 6 a.m. when I wake up, I do 5 minutes of breathing. Feeling, every time I feel tired, I will meditate or whatever you want to do, but you take all of those things, breathing, feeling, listening, and then you anchor it with an actual action. Yeah. So yes, you remember these things, but then you put something else onto it that you're trying to work on or change. And you can do that with anything. Everybody has their own little mental tricks, right? But if you positive thinking alone isn't going to change anything. There has to be action. There has to be a feeling state change. There has to be a brain change and a neural change. So, again, you can think all the positive things in the world, but for some things, it's just not going to make that change necessarily. If you have a knee issue, let's say you have a knee problem. I'll give you one for knees. You're going to bed, close your eyes, you do the same thing. You're just like we do in meditation or visualization, but then you go into your body parts, and then whatever way you can, you visualize that knee exactly how you want it and feeling it, and then yourself in an active state. You reprogram that knee, and you say loving things to it. Like, thank you, knee, for bending and being flexible, and for carrying me around, because it would suck not to have knees, right? So, and then you try to make it fun and playful as well. So that this process of becoming more conscious of our body or changing our habits isn't so challenging all the time. It doesn't feel like work. And then when you do go out and you have the cupcake, trust me, your body will love your cupcakes and wine way more if you embody it when you do it, instead of doing it and then saying negative things about yourself the whole time, right? And that's what people do. They eat the thing, and then later on they're pissed off at themselves. So you can't get out of that. You know what I mean? It's hard to get out of that, and it takes time. So start to be kind, right, to yourself as well, right? And I guarantee if you eat the whole cupcake with that mindset, you probably will not have bad effects from the cupcakes, because you know that it's not an everyday thing, right? You're programming yourself to, enjoy it. Yeah, have the cake, have half, see how you feel. You must have the other half. Then the next day, as we've talked about, you are changing, something else. Because as far as that, it becomes just about energy balance. And you knowing yourself well enough to know what that balance is. Because I don't know, and neither does Kim. Nobody else knows our body except for us. Then we lay responsibility to other people for that. And we have to start taking that back, right? But start with something small. It's always those small things. Mm-hmm. And just know that it, to make it a game. And when it comes to this anxiety stuff, right now, I'm really going on about this because so many people are really struggling and suffering right now. We've got to get a handle on ourselves so that we can be there, period. We need to be present more. And I say that because people are stressed out, people are tripping, and they're going to need us. People we don't know, who, but I promise you, we're going to be needing each other more and more as the next 6-7 months go by. Well, thank you. And yeah, anytime, reach out.